Have I been playing this game for a month already? You guys probably already know what this video is going to be about. If you're on the side of the internet to be seeing my content, you haven't escaped hearing about Hello Kitty Island Adventure, the Sanrio meets Animal Crossing life simulation game developed by Sunblink. Before I talk about the actual gameplay though, I have to address the history on this one because there is a funny story here. I think a lot of people probably already know about this, but for those of you who don't, let me paint you a picture. It's 2006, about 17 years before the initial release of Hello Kitty Island Adventure on Apple Arcade. South Park Season 10 is currently airing on Comedy Central. The first Wednesday in October, Episode 8, an episode that almost 20 years later is still regularly referenced online, airs. Make Love, Not Warcraft. This episode was so funny that even Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, consider it to be their third favorite episode. The main cast begin playing World of Warcraft and learn of a high-level player going around killing other players, making it their goal to stop him. It sounds like a simple plot if you haven't watched it, but this episode won an Emmy Award and to this day is regarded as one of the best episodes in the show's nearly 30-year-long history. So how does this episode of South Park from 2006 relate to Hello Kitty Island Adventure?
I don't play World of Warcraft.
Butters, you said you're on your computer all the time.
Yeah, but I'm playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
South Park referenced this game 17 years before it came out. Now, the developers say that while they're aware of the episode, and even Sanrio themselves have referenced the episode in online memes and pranks, the game is not a tie-in and has no official affiliation with South Park. Of course, the developers can deny any association on their end, but they can't deny the amount of players who immediately remembered this scene and associated it directly to the game. Also, while it may not be a South Park reference, this game certainly isn't without references to other popular media. I mean, we all know whose voice we read this line in. Nonetheless, though, as I mentioned, the game initially released exclusively to Apple Arcade in 2023, where it was awarded Apple Arcade Game of the Year at the 2023 App Store Awards, and was also nominated for Best Mobile Game at the Game Awards that same year. That said, I do think the Apple platform exclusivity of the game kept it mostly out of the mainstream eye for about the first year the game was out, until a Nintendo Direct in June of 2024 informed the world that Hello Kitty and friends were finally coming home to the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Windows PCs. And now that it's finally available on two of these platforms, the fans are absolutely eating this game up, and for good reason. Hello Kitty Island Adventure has been an absolute blast to play so far, from the familiar faces and some maybe less familiar faces to the customization, puzzles, and story. This game has been fantastic. Personally, seeing Retsuko and Gudetama in the announcement trailer back in June came as a very pleasant surprise to me and really got me hyped for this game, as these two are a couple of my favorite characters. I actually even based my character off of Shikabane from Season 5 of Aggretsuko. Speaking of character customization, I have to say I am pretty impressed with the options in that regard, and it's even better knowing that there are more palettes and clothes to unlock as you play through the story and level up your friendships with the characters. If I hadn't already had the inspiration for my character, or if I wasn't able to put that inspiration to good use with the beginning options, I think I would have ended up spending a lot longer on character customization just trying to make up my mind. I wasn't the biggest fan of the starting clothes, admittedly, but you start unlocking more options not too far into the story, so that wasn't too much of a big deal, and honestly, it's pretty par for the course for the starting clothes in a game to be mid, and I'm willing to look the other way about that when the overall customization options are this good. Your character also isn't the only thing you get to customize in this game. While you don't get to terraform and modify the layout of the island like you do in Animal Crossing, you do get your own cabin to decorate, and you will later get to decorate cabins for visitors who come to your island. Your furniture options are pretty bare bones at first, but as you progress through the story, you'll fairly quickly find yourself unlocking so many cute pieces of furniture, recipes, and crafting blueprints to really make yourself at home with. The furniture designs are super cute, though I do have a couple minor complaints about decoration. I do wish that you could directly place objects on tables and counters from the decoration interface instead of having to exit, go interact with the surface directly, and select the smaller items from your inventory. And I kind of wish, since you can't directly place things from your inventory to begin with, that instead of having all your inventory tabs up at the top, you could just switch between categories of furniture like beds, shelves, seating, so on and so forth, instead of having to use the filtering system, which I found to be a bit impractical as a means of finding the items I wanted. Regarding story progression, if you're someone who prefers to just grind your way through the story of games without worrying about the social mechanics, I'm sorry to say this one might not be for you, because both mainline and side quests are paced by your relationships with the other characters. I myself am a bit 50-50 on this in most games because it can be inconvenient if you're ready to move on to the next bit of main story, but then you find out that that chapter doesn't unlock until you've reached like level 50 friendship with this one character who you only ever talk to once. But I think that in the case of Hello Kitty Island Adventure, the friendship mechanic actually feels more organically enmeshed with the story itself and makes the story feel more realistic. The friendship mechanic doesn't exist in a vacuum, entirely or almost entirely separate from the main story in the way that we see in some games, but rather it feels like it's an inherent part of the story, which is something I would expect from a Sanrio game. Friendship is one of the core themes we consistently see with Sanrio characters, so honestly, I'm grateful to see the friendship mechanics executed so well in this game. My only complaint with the friendship system is the fact that you can only give your friends so many gifts per day, and talking to them doesn't increase your friendship at all. So if you need a character to be a certain friendship level to unlock a quest, there does come a point where you'll probably have to wait until the game resets for the day at midnight and you can give them gifts again in order to proceed, or you'll have to use friendship blossoms to be able to give them more gifts. But honestly, even with this, I think it's important to remember that this game was originally made for the mobile platform, where the maximum amount of time you'd realistically expect your player base to be playing on any given day is like 30 to 60 minutes. It wasn't made with the kind of gamers who will grind through a brand new game in 12 hours in mind, so honestly, I can easily overlook this. Not every game is made to match your specific playstyle, and I still found myself having 2 to 3 hour play sessions with some of the quests unlocked throughout this game, so it's honestly not that deep in my opinion. That said, I'd like to address something important regarding the patience required of players to play this game. I'm going to make the assumption that the majority of people who are interested in Hello Kitty Island Adventure have probably played at least one Animal Crossing game, which probably means you're familiar with the concept of time traveling in these kinds of games. If you're not, in short, time traveling in games is the concept of altering your system or in-game clock to reflect a different point than the actual time so that you can bypass wait times, finish time-locked quests, participate in events, and more. It's honestly super useful and extremely common in the Animal Crossing fandom. That said, do not time travel in Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It is absolutely tempting to do, however, unlike time traveling in Animal Crossing, which virtually holds little to no consequences aside from your town possibly becoming overrun with weeds, time traveling has the chance of corrupting your save, locking you out of multiplayer, and screwing up time-based mechanics like critter spawns and in-game events in Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It's not worth the risk, so just have patience. Before I get back to talking about the things in this game that have made me spend at least an hour a day playing it for the last month, I'd like to talk about the different versions of Hello Kitty Island Adventure and their respective price points. When it comes to both the Steam and Nintendo Switch versions, you have two options, Standard or Deluxe. Standard version retails for $40 while the Deluxe version retails for $60, and if you're hoping for a physical copy of the game for your Switch, you'll have to wait just a little longer as the physical copies will not be available until March 25th. It should also be noted that to my knowledge only the Deluxe edition of the game will be getting a physical release, so physical copies will also likely be $60. Now, Before I dive into the difference between Standard and Deluxe, I also want to mention that you absolutely do not need the Deluxe version if you're hoping to have access to all the items and features in this game. All items and features are available in both versions. The primary difference between the two is that Deluxe gives you 3 Deluxe item bundles, which will give you faster access to legacy items, as well as a bunch of crafting materials to get you started, as to where the Standard Edition, you will have to wait to unlock some of these items, more akin to the experience of playing the game on Apple Arcade during its initial release. If you want a more authentic and slower paced experience based on how the game was meant to be played at release, Standard Edition is for you. If you want to unlock items and progress more quickly, you might want to consider the Deluxe Edition. Personally, while I did buy the Deluxe Edition on Steam, I wasn't super happy about the price tag, and I'm not sure if given the opportunity to go back and pick which version I want again, if I would actually buy the Deluxe Edition again. I don't think the Deluxe bundles are necessarily worth the extra $20. I mostly bought it so I would have access to more of the content in the game as soon as possible, and so I could let you guys know if I thought that Deluxe was really worth it, and I don't think it clears the bar for me. If I'm being honest, I do think the game itself is worth $40, but $20 extra for the Deluxe Edition is pretty steep considering what you get for it. You guys know I believe developers should be paid for their time and energy that they put into a game, but I don't really feel like I got my money's worth out of the extra $20, and unless you really want the physical version coming out in March for the Switch, I'd recommend saving that money. Like I said, you'll be able to get all of the items eventually without the Deluxe version anyways. That said, if you're considering the Deluxe Edition, make sure you decide before you buy, because there's been some confusion on whether or not you can upgrade to the Deluxe Edition, with it initially being said that you can't, and now there seems to be mixed takes online of whether or not you can, so it would probably be better to be safe than sorry in this instance. Another factor for consideration when determining which version of the game you want to buy is the fact that crossplay is not supported between the Steam and Switch versions of the game, and presumably will not be supported by the PlayStation versions as well. So if you plan on doing multiplayer with your friends, you should discuss with them what version they're getting and weigh that into your decision for which one you should buy. Now, back to the gameplay, because I'm most certainly not done yapping about this game. Do you like puzzles? We've got puzzles. Much like Shrine Quests in the Zelda games, Hello Kitty Island Adventure has puzzle rooms. Admittedly, they're a little less difficult than some of the Zelda shrines, but several of them are more difficult than I initially expected, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't have to look up guides for some of them online. Some of the puzzles are directly related to the story, and some of them are just a neat little thing for you to find while exploring and maybe get some items out of, but all of them are fun. Speaking of Zelda, I want to move on to talking about the exploration aspect of this game, because honestly, among the things I didn't expect, the feeling I got from exploring the map was one of them. It's a much smaller map than the modern Zelda titles have, yet somehow it invoked very much that same feeling. There was a point during my first few days with the game where I didn't have any quests that I could do at the time, and I'd given all the friends I had access to as many gifts as I could without using friendship blossoms, so I just started looking around. And as I did, I found more and more little hidden things, and it really felt like when you just wander around the map in Zelda, looking for whatever little mystery is waiting to find you. It was on a smaller scale, for sure, but it was there, and I'm really happy it was. And on that note of unexpected feelings, wow, were some of the storylines and side quests in this game heavy. I'm not talking in any way that suggests kids can't play this game. It wasn't necessarily what I would call dark, but without spoiling anything, certain quests and storylines really tackle some surprising topics head-on, like anxiety, risk-taking, loneliness, even questions about what it means to be somebody's friend, and what kind of weight friendships hold in the grand scheme of everything. I'm kind of considering doing a deep dive on some of these topics in later videos, because this game really surprised me with the fact it even approached these topics, let alone in the way that it did. And as someone who has struggled with a lot of the aforementioned topics, I have a lot to say about them. At the end of the day, though, of course, this is a Hello Kitty game, and because of that, you can guarantee that ultimately these big topics are wrapped up as small gifts that lead to a big smile. Overall, while I absolutely have some qualms, and I know the game isn't perfect, Hello Kitty Island Adventure is a very solid game that really fills my cup when it comes to my desire for cozy social sims. It's got friendship, decorating, cooking, crafting, exploration, puzzles, and so much more. The gameplay is fun, the graphics are absolutely adorable, the story is immersive and well written, and at the end of the day, I can honestly say Hello Kitty Island Adventure is a game that you will definitely find me putting way too many hours into for the rest of the year. What about you guys? Have you played Hello Kitty Island Adventure yet, or are you planning to in the future? While we're here, who are your favorite Sanrio characters? I think my top 3 would probably be Little Twin Stars, Retsuko, and Gudetama. Let me know yours in the comments below, and until next time, stay cozy!